Hello, everybody. So we're coming to the final of the interviews that I'm doing as far as the roundtable in the Philippines is concerned. And this interview is with Rhea Matute, who is an old friend because she was an early participant in two of the British Council's programs that I was involved in back in the noughties. So Rhea, great to see you again, and great to be working with you again in this context.
Hi, Andrew. Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, I can't believe that, this creative journey has reconnected us after all these years.
I know. Well, it's great that it has done. Can you just talk about what the agency that you're running now is there to do?
Well, the Science Center of the Philippines is a technical agency of the Department of Trade and Industry, and its mandate is to help micro, small, medium enterprises of the Philippines use design to become more competitive in the market. So it had its roots in product development, primarily, and design of objects, furniture, fashion, accessories, as well as in branding. But I guess in the last in the last 10 years, it's expanding design as more of solutions to competitiveness, innovation, as well as using design to address sustainable development. So it's been working on that.
And I think you've also been looking at design in the context of policymaking and how you bring design thinking into that agenda as well, particularly in the context of the creative economy.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, we had this. There is in a Cox report in 2005. That is Sir. I think Robert is his first name. Sir Robert Cox. He used to head the Treasury Department of the UK, and he actually made this link through a study that he's made on, again, what I found it very interesting is because it was a report done by the Treasury Department, and what he found out in that report is the link between creativity, design, and innovation. So the way he phrased it is: creativity is the generator of new ideas and solutions. Innovation is the successful exploitation of new ideas, the process that carries them to new products, services, new ways of running an activity. And design is what links creativity and innovation. It shapes ideas to become practical and attractive propositions for users. So, and that was back in, I think, 2005. And I thought that was really it kind of becomes the crux of the challenges that we have also in differentiating creativity, design, and innovation. So this somehow kind of puts things in order when we start our communication.
But it's interesting as well, because of course, not just in that context, it's true about the creative industries, the creative economy, the cultural industries. Terms get used and to some degree abused by people because they don't necessarily understand, they don't have the background in terms of understanding how the things work in that way. I'm just wondering how much of a problem has that been in terms of the way the issues that you've faced in trying to develop the agency?
Design is, I mean, again, like what you said, it's been used and abused. I mean, primarily because design as a verb and design as a noun. And, people say, well, it's a quick solution, okay, what's the problem with the business? Well, because you need design and somehow that lack of definition also becomes an issue that like they think of design as just form giving, right? But like design is much bigger than that. I mean, like it's just the skin. It's depending on, again, um, a company or like a country's ability to use design in that various levels. But we've been lucky that with the work of other countries in trying to understand design and how to maximize the use of design in its development strategies, we're standing on the shoulders of all those researches and all those reports, and like hopefully that could help us leapfrog into our development of design in this country, while not using it like in its entirety, but um, knowing their experience and being able to localize our context and putting that definition or that experience within our context. And that's basically also what what's been in that early discussion of the creative industries, at least in 2004 and 2005 when we first met, right? I mean, like it's all about localization, because every creative industry, even not just within a country, the condition of the creative industries, even within cities, are very different, and that, I guess, somehow that makes it, for me, it complicated things a little because of because of just how like how fluid it is. But at the same time, I mean, like the potential to really become a game changer in in the development of a city or a region or a town, to make it be more of meaning, meaningful in its agenda for development. It makes it even more important, right? I mean, because it gives it identity and a local identity.
Do you think, I mean, here in the UK, we obviously have intangible cultural heritage, but it's not something we necessarily talk about a great deal. We have a crafts council, which is very active, but we don't then talk about intangible cultural heritage. Whereas I know that in the Philippines and in most emerging economies, and certainly developing economies, this is a huge issue in terms, because often what they're exporting is furniture or garments, which in many ways have their roots in terms of the development of fabrics or the development of approaches to furniture making in a craft base. How easy is it to marry that craft base within the Philippines with that kind of more progressive agenda that is there, and perhaps more technological agenda that's there in terms of design?
It's hard because primarily our artisan our furniture artisan sector relies heavily on export, right? And the way the market mechanism works is the design should come from like the importing nation, right? But I think we just live right now. We live in a very in a very interesting time that people are looking for like products with meaning, and somehow putting that into that conversation of authenticity and products with meaning, then it provides that window of opportunity where the decolonization of artisanal products can really become more coming from the voice of the artisan, and less of the importing nation. And somehow I think, and that's giving people courage, right? I mean, like to weave in their stories into their products or into the objects that they create. And like what we've done recently actually with the region of Central Visayas where Cebu is, we've done that the program where it's all about placemaking. We wanted objects that would resonate like with the artisans, and not, don't use them as factors of production, right? I mean, really involve them and collaborate with them in creating products that also have meaning to them as producers of the products.
It does strike me that very often one of the dangers is that, unless you really argue for this, there is a danger that people forget about how important across the creative industries that issue of narrative and being rooted in a place or in an understanding is, in terms of actually having that authenticity. And without the authenticity, things simply don't find that value in the marketplace.
Correct. And if the creative industries or the creative economy, I think will survive. I mean, you need to create very unique identities for everyone. I mean, you don't want a Starbucks. I mean, you don't want the Starbucks model for the entire world, and it's not. It's not creative at all, right? So I think that's the important part. But again, it also kind of further complicates it because people want a template, right? A framework. And
A quick fix.
Correct. And yeah, so that's that's both the opportunity and a challenge at the same time.
Can I just come now onto the question of your personal journey? How did you get from being a young woman, a kid in school, and to come to where you are today? What was that about? What took you on that journey?
Oh my gosh. I came from a Jesuit school. And I knew I didn't want to be a banker. I didn't want to be in advertising. I wanted to be something of meaning. And at first I started, as a right after the university, where I took up business management with a minor in marketing. And I worked for it was a formal U.S. naval base that was converted into civilian use. Well, it was turned over by the Americans to the Philippine government, and we were promoting, investments into Subic Bay. But I knew, I knew I had an inclination towards design. I took up, during the summer, I would take a leave and I did some classes to discover what it is, what creative, what is my creative leanings. So I took up a summer program on architecture. And I knew I didn't want to do architecture, only because it felt so big. I mean, I wanted something that was more tangible and, closer to the person. So, and then true enough, my advisor in the program was telling me that my tendencies towards something that's smaller. So she told me to look at industrial design and to look into furniture. And it so happens that in the Philippines, I've always visited Manila Fame, which is the export trade show event that is for furniture, furnishings, fashion accessories, and that's given me inspiration. And yeah, so I decided to do industrial design, a master's in industrial design, and but I wanted to come back to the Philippines and do my, be an industrial designer in the Philippines. So after my master's, despite an offer to stay in the US, I decided to come back because I also had aging grandparents that I didn't want to miss out on the years of being with them. So I came back and I applied for the to the office that organized Manila Fame. And primarily I thought it was also an opportunity to build my network, and then eventually create my own design practice. Because when I was studying design, I already had a business plan for a design studio. And I even had a name. It's called Jeepney Design Lab. But then I realized, like what I said in the roundtable, I realized that the design industry in New York is completely different than the design industry in the Philippines, which is still very much, at its infancy. There were a lot of gaps and, that needed to be plugged in. And so I decided, I think a year into my job at Saitem, that I needed to help build that infrastructure in the Philippines to help the design industry. So I've been on this journey ever since. And then when the creative industries actually program came in, and the first time I read it, and it was the British Council who gave me that the brochure. I said, and I said immediately, and said, this is it. This is such an amazing strategy for development. And I thought it was perfect for the Philippines.
You know what? And I think it's proving to be honest with you. But I'm just thinking now about the whole question about the roundtable, which was about second cities. How easy has it been for you to take what you do outside of Metro Manila and start to kind of build up the opportunities that are there outside of the capital? I know that a very early program that the British Council ran, which I was involved in, was in Cebu, which is the second largest city. But there was an impetus there. How easy was it to get that to really take hold in Cebu, and how easy has it been for it to expand beyond Cebu into other cities and districts?
Well, I was part of the thing about Cebu happened also because of the creative entrepreneur, right?
The award program, yeah.
Yes, and that was with Jay Aldeguer.
Yeah,
I was the one who actually nominated Jay to the British Council for that program because we were, we were classmates in the university. Only because his journey as a creative entrepreneur was also very amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And understanding also that I knew he would get it, right? And meaning understand the whole concept of the creative economy, and he could be the poster boy for the creative industries in Cebu, and really show its potential. So it really needed an influencer, to really push the project, but it also demanded patience, that it is going to be a commitment, right? To get government to understand it, to get the industry to fully understand it as well. So it's easy to introduce. I think the challenge is the commitment and keeping focus on the agenda to nurture it. And that's why I really think it was perfect the workshop, that first workshop that I did with you guys, is nurturing the creative industries, and it really does take a lot of nurturing. I mean, and you know that, but you know it. That's what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, I will wind us up there because I don't want to take too much more of your time up. Thank you so much today, Rhea, for all of your contributions.